Spider-Man, Wolverine, Storm, Gambit. Oh, my Marvel favorites are here. Oh yeah, and Cyclops. Oh well, so thanks to Paul in California, we have a chance for a re-review of this game, Spider-Man and X-Men Arcade's Revenge on the Super Nintendo. Now I say re-review since Derek reviewed the Genesis version here on Undertow a while back, and although the games are very similar, the Super Nintendo version is actually quite a bit better in many aspects. So this one came out in 1992, while the Genesis version actually came out in 1994, and it was a pretty lazy port. Now don't get me started on console tech spec comparisons or anything, but even though it took another 2 years to put out the same game on the Sega, it definitely seemed like a rushed translation onto hardware with slightly less powerful capabilities for graphics and sound. But when it comes down to the gameplay, it's still pretty much the same. The levels are identical, starting off with the same bomb disarming mission for Spidey, and then it branches off into controlling the other heroes in their own unique stages inside of Arcade's Murder World. That's way cooler than Disney World, by the way. The controls are also very similar, aside from the obvious differences in the controllers for the console. But like I said earlier, the main difference in the Super Nintendo version is definitely in the graphics and sound department. Now those things weren't necessarily bad in the Sega Genesis version or anything, but the expanded color palette of the SNES is much appreciated, especially for colorful comic book action. Oh yeah, and the music here is also super awesome. VGM geeks out there surely know of Tim and Jeff Follin, a pair of legendary music composers that have done some amazing game soundtracks over the years, and this one is pretty exceptional. At least if you like your 16-bit music laden with funk and electric guitar solos. And man, who doesn't, seriously? But I guess all of that's mostly surface stuff. There's still definitely some issues with this game that can show their age. The controls are pretty stiff, and even though it was a very admirable early attempt at some intense web-slinging action for Spider-Man especially, it can still lead to some frustrating platforming. It's also a pretty difficult game, and it does require a lot of patience. But hey, at least there's a trick to get unlimited lives in Gambit stage if you're willing to cheat your way through. So overall, I'd say this is an interesting old-school side-scroller that Marvel fans might get a kick out of, but the gameplay might not be refined enough if you don't have any nostalgic feelings for this one. But if you want to play this, and you have a choice between the ports, I'd definitely go for this one over the more rough and rugged Genesis version.